Welcome to Harrison Maintenance 101. Today's topic, that pesky leaking level gauge. Leaks typically occur within the gauge itself or at the seals between the gauge and the reservoir. In either case, you'll have to remove the level gauge for those repairs. Here you can see a list of tools needed and the part numbers for the replacement gauge and seals. So to get started, you'll want to drain all the oil from the system. You'll be removing both the filler neck and the filter assemblies to gain access to the level gauge. Grab your 7/16 socket and remove the 8 bolts holding the filler neck to the reservoir. It'll likely be stuck to the reservoir, so be careful not to damage the gasket when pulling it up. Then using your 7/8 inch wrench, disconnect the return hose from the filter housing. And remove the 4 nylon lock nuts that hold the filter housing in place. The filter housing has a boost line attached to the bottom, so as you lift it up, you'll tilt it to get it out of the reservoir. Now you can use your 3/4 inch deep socket with the 6-inch extension to loosen the 2 nuts holding the level gauge to the reservoir. These nuts won't be very tight, so once you break them loose, they'll spin off very easily. But the threaded posts are quite long, so it'll take a bit of time to get those off. Once the nuts are off, you can now pull the level gauge straight away from the reservoir. If the gauge is leaking from within its body, you'll want to replace it with a new one. But if the seals between it and the reservoir are leaking, you can replace those by themselves. When you're ready to put it all back together, reinsert the level gauge and put the 2 nuts back on. These aren't lug nuts, so they don't have to be torqued extremely tight, just enough to compress the O-ring seals. Inspect the O-ring on the bottom of the filter housing to make sure it's in good condition and in place. Then using one hand through the filler opening to guide the boost nozzle into the center of the suction fitting, slip it down over the studs. It's very important to get this dead center in the suction fitting to prevent the possibility of hydraulic pump cavitation. The studs that hold the filter housing are welded onto the thin reservoir material, so make sure you don't over tighten the lock nuts when you're reinstalling them. And just like those studs, the nuts for the filler neck bolts are welded in place, so be careful not to over tighten those also. And last but not least, reinstall the return hose to the filter housing and you'll be ready to put oil back in the system. For more information or further assistance with troubleshooting your generator, please contact us by phone or email. Harrison, clean, reliable, mobile power since 1969.